And Nicole joins us now from her home in St. Paul, Minnesota. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it is a pleasure.
So the spirit of this show is that it doesn't have to be this monumental change. A lot of times we'll look at our lives and we'll say, okay, let me take on the biggest thing that I can. And then we don't either succeed at it or we don't get to it. With this, though, your hair, it's a very intriguing thing to tackle because it's something that not everyone will specifically understand, but it carries a lot of weight, and it did for you especially.
It did. I can just say that it might seem like a small thing to like change your hair, but for me, changing my hair was a monumental experience for me. It was something that caused a lot of anxiety initially to embrace. But I will say that what came out of that was really a sense of freedom and a sense of healing from a lot of core hurts and wounds that started from a child. You know, when you're burdened with the weight of, when society tells you false labels and lies about what's beautiful or what's acceptable. And so
Yeah.
starting very young, I was looking for a way to fit in. I was looking for a way to move past feeling like I wasn't good enough just as I am.
You know what? I want to correct myself because I said, a lot of people may not relate to this. Let me rewind that because even when women have decided to no longer dye their hair and go gray, people say, wait a minute, you're going gray. What are you thinking? Or when men decide, I'm not going to, try to pretend that my hair is still lush. I'm going to shave my head or go bald. People question that. So it is relatable. Your natural hair journey is unique, specifically for women of color. I remember, Nicole, when I went natural on the Today Show so many years ago, people actually did news stories on the fact that I wore my hair natural. There's my buddy Al Roker who embraced being bald. Yeah, but people, that was a news story that I went natural. So this is a big thing.
It's a big thing. There's so much identity, I believe, that's attached to our hair. And I think that when a person like yourself, you stepped out, you decided I'm going to just show up in my true, authentic, natural, and people aren't accustomed to that always. And so
Yeah.
it became interesting. It became very interesting, Tamron, to start being celebrated for something that was attached to so much pain in the past.
Right. Right. And it's an individual thing because full disclosure, I do dye my hair and I will dye it tonight. And I went back to chemically straightening my hair because that was something I was comfortable with. But it's an individual change that we're talking about to someone's life. Yours also, for people who don't know, it is not cheap to straighten your hair. It is not cheap to have extensions or color, these processes. And you saw yourself spending a lot of money that you could be spending somewhere else.
Yes, I spent a lot of money, getting the right hair. And I used to get it custom blended in New York City, and to have it shipped and then have it put in and then have it wrapped and then have it, So I mean, I was putting in hundreds of, I would say $700 to $800 every time I would kind of renew, if you will, and it was an expense. That was real. I had a hair budget.
You had a hair budget. So you had a line item on your...
Uh, yes, ma'am. A line item. It was actually built into into a contract with the work I was doing. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So it was built into the contract with the work you were doing because this also impacted how people saw you in your career, or at least how you thought. I have a friend who's an executive, and I remember natural hair, and she said to me, should I straighten my hair? Because if I walk into this office and they see me with curly hair, they're going to think I'm militant, or they're going to think something about me. And she was in tears because it does flow in, if we're being honest, into careers.
It absolutely does. It does. Personally, I was traveling at the time for Ebony magazine as a fashion commentator for Ebony Fashion Fair. And, I don't think it was necessarily an expectation from the company per se, but I do know that in the industry, there's just a certain unspoken what is considered beautiful and how you present. And here's the thing. I was surrounded with all of this external beauty, where this investment of external and don't get me wrong, I love it. Hair, fashion, all of it. But yet how much do we invest in our internal beauty? right? And that's what
Right.
inspired me to launch the Inner Beauty Project because I saw so much investment on the external for women, but very little being invested on getting really in tune with their
Right.
internal beauty. And once you have that, you can put anything on top. Listen, I will still get my hair. If I wanted to, I could go back to what I had, but it wouldn't define me. And I believe that's the biggest
Right.
difference.
I think that's the big difference we're talking about here. Does that define you? Does,
Right.
going gray define you? If you're a guy and you decide to go bald, do you feel less than the man you were, 5 years ago? It's what causes you to define yourself. And that's part of the change that you made. Well, Nicole, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.